Maybe it'll work now. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Empower Build Show. I'm your host, Ben Estreno, over here at the Empower Gaming Studio. Pretty cool, huh? We're going to be building Adrian's PC today. Funny thing. Hey, what's up, Steve? Welcome back to another build show. How's the audio, guys? I was actually going to stream yesterday. And I asked, how's my audio every time I restart my stream PC? I feel like that happens every time. So I have to readjust everything. I don't know why Streamlabs makes me go through this, but it hates me. So, what's up, Gary Smith? How's it going? Welcome to the build show. But no, yesterday I was going to stream, but I could not get the stream to go live on YouTube. I for the life of me, I could not get it to work. What ended up being the problem is I have a thumbnail selection on Streamlabs that allows me to add the thumbnail for YouTube from Streamlabs to YouTube. And for some reason, that thumbnail being added from Streamlabs to YouTube would just stop the stream. They just would not allow it to happen. They would just cancel it out. Perfect. What's up, Real? So we're live today, finally, because by the time I had it figured out, it was about 1 a.m. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing a build that late and sending notifications to everybody that late. Hey, we're live, 1 a.m. Come watch. A little too late. So I kind of screwed up my schedule because I was going to do another build today. Not this one, but now I'm one build behind again. Thanks to YouTube. Hey, what's up, Ant-Man? Welcome back to the build show, sir. Hello, I'm looking to upgrade my PC. I have a Ryzen 7 5700G and a 1070. Should I get a 3060 or 4060, and would a 850 watt PSU? So 850 watts for either of those cards is overkill. So if you wanted to save a little money, you could probably do a 650 watt 80 plus gold, and that would be more than enough power for the 3060 4060. Or if you wanted to do the 850 watt to have that additional wiggle room for a future upgrade, that would be why you would do that. The Ryzen 7 5700G on what motherboard? Do you know what motherboard that's on? I think we talked about it in the past, but I don't remember. I talked to way too many people on a daily basis about their PCs. I have way too many Google Chrome tabs open inside my brain. If you took a look inside there, there's at least 1,000 tabs open. Hey Lee, thanks for the like over there on Facebook. You as well, Adam. Thank you for the like. It's an Aurora B450M, and thanks. Yeah, no problem. The B450M with the 5700G is fine. The downside to both of those components is the Ryzen 7 5700G does not support PCIe 4.0, and neither does the B450. The downside to that is that the RTX 4060 wouldn't perform as well on there. I would rather see the RTX 4060 on a B550 minimum. That would have PCIe 4.0 support with a CPU as well that supports PCIe 4.0. So in this case, I would say the RTX 3060 12 gigabyte card would be the ideal card for your current setup because it works better on PCIe 3.0, which is what your setup will support. And then again, the 850 watt power supply is overkill. All you would need, if this is all you're going to go to, and then, you know, if you're not planning on any future upgrades to a bigger card, 650 watts is all you need for that RTX 3060. But if you're planning a future upgrade as well for that build, you know, graphics card wise, maybe buy the bigger power supply so you have that wiggle room. No problem, man. All right, guys, we have a build behind us. Oh, look, there's my hand. So let's go ahead and get this started. I know Adrian's been waiting patiently. I apologize, Adrian, for how long it's taken to get here. We are finally here. It is time. Finally. after a long wait. So originally, this build was supposed to be an Ryzen 5 5600X, and he wants to stream on this build, and I really wanted him to have those cores. So I ended up finding a Ryzen 7 5700X for almost the same price. It was a few more dollars, but it took forever to get here. So that was why this build took so long to get on the build table here, the bench. Mostly because we were waiting on the CPU to arrive. Everything else got here was super quick, just the CPU we were waiting on. But I wanted to give him the most bang for his buck. We also changed out the cooler to reflect on the bigger CPU that we had for the build. So, running through this one, where's his... So again, originally this was supposed to be a Ryzen 5 5600, but we got him to 5700. Can't hear you over the meter. Oh. One second. So I don't know why it does... I don't know why it does that between scenes. One scene, my music could be super quiet. And then the next scene, when I switch over, it's quite the opposite. So I'll have to figure that out and play around with it. Thank you, Steve, for pointing that out. And Ant-Man. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know why that happens. It's something to do with my mixer in Streamlabs. I think I have, unfortunately, accidentally added the microphone or the audio in two different places. It's good now. Yeah, I could see the monitor here. I just didn't catch it when I switched. The Ryzen 5 5500X3D now does PCI Gen 4. Oh, the PCI. Oh wait, the Ryzen 5 5500 or the 55. I thought there was only a 5600X3D. Give me 1 second, guys. I got a call. Well, that's not good. Another PC out there just had a power supply issue, so looks like it's gonna have to come back. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys. Just looked up how long AM4 is gonna last. AM4 is an amazing platform. Yes, it is. Yes, it's my first PC. Still upgrading it. Yes, I'm actually still on the AM4 platform as well, personally. I have a 5700X on a B550, which I am using all of its PCIe lanes. Everything it's got. So, maxing that board out as much as possible. Hey, what's up, Army Vet? Over there on the Twitch. How the heck are you? I'm okay. Motherboard? Yeah, my motherboard sucks. I hate my motherboard. I max out those PCIe lanes. But okay, let's get back to this build. Getting back to it. Alright, so running through the parts list, we have a Ryzen 7 5700X, which has got the 8 cores and the 16 threads, and a max boost of, I believe, the 4.6 gigahertz. I had to double check, because my memory is not serving me as well as it used to. We were going to have a Thermalright Assassin King 120 SE, but we have the Peerless Assassin 120 SE addressable RGB for the bigger CPU, so it'll keep that CPU cooler. Was a little bit more expensive, but we have to do that to make sure it runs properly. So we did upgrade them from the 5600 to the 5700X. The motherboard, MSI B550M Pro VDH Wi-Fi for the motherboard. And then we have 16 gigabytes of DDR4 32 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 to 16 gigabyte sticks, which is the Team Group T-Force Vulcan Z, and then a 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe Gen 4, not a Gen 3. That was another thing. It looks like I upgraded him from the 512 to the 1 terabyte, and from a Gen 3 to a Gen 4. I don't know if that was a mistake on my end or if I meant to do that, but he's got 1 terabyte instead of 512, because I can't see myself doing that. The graphics card is the NVIDIA RTX 3060. This is the Gigabyte WindForce Gaming OC 12 gigabyte card. So if you're interested in that 3060, this is a good card to grab. Another good one would be by, what's the other one? Crap. Galax. Galax is another brand that you'll find on Amazon, which is still a pretty good brand. Even has RGB lighting on some of the cards. The case that we're going to be building in is the Montech XR, which is an ATX mid-tower. It's got tempered glass front and side panel. It's a beautiful, more modern designed case. And then the last piece here is we have a couple of fans, and we have a 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply, which, by the way, again, Ant-Man, this is actually a great power supply for you if you are looking for one. It's the Sedratep GN 650W. It's 80 plus gold. It's about $50 on Amazon. It's a great power supply. That's all you would need for your RTX 3060, which is exactly what we're doing. We're basically doing your build, Ant-Man, except maybe a few differences. Let's see here. 5500X 3D will have 96 megabytes of L3 cache and a 4.0 gigahertz clock speed. 145 builds this year is crazy. You want to know what else is crazy? That's not even half of what we did half of last year, 2023. Look at 2023. We're not even halfway. Can't say that word for 10 minutes. It's a word ban. Oh, shit. I mean, shoot. I missed the word ban. All right, so Army Vet over on Twitch redeemed 1,000 points to ban the word motherboard. I cannot use that word, which I just used. And I used it like 8 times. What's the penalty for that? I don't even know. Does Gen 4 NVMEs work with Aurora's B450M? Not going to say it, Army Vet. I believe you need a B550. Not going to say it, Army Vet. Okay. The B550 would be needed, as well as your CPU. So the 5700G Ant-Man that you said you have is not going to supply PCIe 4.0, which is the Gen 4. Also, the board, or the MB, being a B450, also does not support PCIe 4.0. So the Gen 4 is PCIe 4.0. So in order for you to get PCIe 4.0, you would need a new board, B550 or better, on the AM4 platform, and then a new CPU. The Ryzen 5 3600 actually has PCIe Gen 4 support, surprisingly, or you go into the 5000 series, avoiding any of the Gs. The 5700G does not have PCIe 4.0. The 5600G does not have PCIe 4.0, and the 5500 does not have PCIe 4.0. Maybe the X3D does, but the rest of them do. Okay, so a little sick. So I'll stick to the SATA 3 SSDs, thanks. Yes, you could get a Gen 4 SSD. It is backwards compatible. So if you buy a Gen 4 SSD and put it on your board, then you would be able to still use it. It's just going to run at the Gen 3 speeds that's available. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started on this, shall we? How are you so smart? I don't know. I just deal with computers all day. All day, every day. Everybody's asking me computer stuff, computer this, everything. I just somehow retain that information and still remember my kids' names. I do mix them up every now and then, though. Ben is very smucking. Fart. Oh, yeah. What Army Vet said. That was a little cheeky way to slip that in there. All right, so here on the board, how long do I have to like avoid that word? Because it's really hard. We're going to be installing our AM4 CPU, our RAM, and our SSD. And then our cooler as well. I'm here for for comedy relief. Well, you don't have to avoid it. I was just messing around. No, I'm avoiding it. But we should put a time frame on those. Maybe I should do that. I cannot say this one word for this many moments. You can't say what MB stands for. That's right. No, no, no. Not that one. Isn't it? All right, so the 32 gigs of DDR4 3200 CL16, two 16 gigabyte sticks by Team Group T-Force Vulcan Z. We're going to be putting in A2 and B2 slots slots A2 and B2. Let me slide this over so you can see it. So I'm just gonna push the clips down so I can get the RAM ready to drop in there. Imagine trying to install a processor with eyes closed. Redeem. No. No, 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 no. Let's not do that. I don't think I could do that. I feel like somebody would end up with bent pins. Next, here, let me just drop that right there. Next up is a 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe SSD by Team Group, which is the MP44L, which is Gen 4 PCIe 4.0. And it's got a read-write speed of, I think, 4,800 or 5,500 megabits per second, which is pretty quick, very fast. Here, we're going to go ahead and drop that here into the M.2 slot. We're also going to peel off our thermal pad, which helps transfer the heat off of the SSD and onto the heat spreader, which is that big chunk of metal that goes over the top, and that helps dissipate the heat off the SSD. Come on. Yeah, I don't think I could do a CPU install blindfolded. I don't think I would do that. Would you buy your kids 4090s? No. They can go get jobs and buy them. I would not buy your kids a 4090 now. 5090s are on the way. That's a good point. But my point is they can go work and get their own. If I don't have a 4090, they're sure as hell not going to have a 4090. My daughter is currently patiently waiting for for me to upgrade my computer because she'll get my video card, which is an RTX 3070 Ti. That's currently what I'm running, and she currently has a GTX 1660. So she's waiting for that upgrade to happen. Now I was looking at AMD cards, but I don't know if I'm doing it or not. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get this cooler, the Thermalright Peerless Assassin, installed here. I removed the stock brackets because we have a hardware kit that's included that has all the brackets for this. Hey, what's up, 777s Gaming? I was thinking about building a gaming PC, but I had some questions before I start. Can anyone help me out that knows what they're talking about? Because I don't. Well, I think most of us here have some idea. I don't know anything about PCs. That's me being a smartass. So if you have any questions, drop them in here. Hey, what's up, some giant idiot? How you doing, bud? Trying to get these brackets out. What kind of questions you got, Triple? Or do we call you Trip? Tired from the work. How are you doing? We need a Chan point redeem for VIP badge. I don't even know how to do that. How do you do that? Maybe somebody knows Twitch better than me. How do you set that up? Is that even a thing? Tired from work? Yeah, man, I hear you. I've been beat up this last week. Since I came back from vacation, it's been like, I don't know, just never ending. Do they really cost 5K to build? No, they do not. So you could build a really nice gaming PC for probably anywhere from $800 to $1,000. That would be a really nice system that has a really good upgrade path, and that will last a couple of years and be able to play pretty much anything you throw at it in 1080p, maybe some 1440p. So no, you don't have to buy or build a $5,000 computer to game. that is just the standard that's been set by streamers, really. If you're streaming and you're streaming at a high quality level, then yeah, you're probably going to spend around $5 grand on a PC. But if you're just starting out, don't ever invest that much money into like a streaming PC if you're just starting with the streaming, because you're just playing around at that point. You're figuring it out, you're learning. There's no reason to invest that much money. When you start making money off the stream, you can reinvest that money back into your PC and upgrade your tools to either perform better or to up your quality of stream, or to, I guess, make your job more efficient if it's a full-time gig. You know, that's what I would say, is look at it more of an investment if you're streaming rather than a luxury. Is it a smart investment? Dropping 5K just to find out if you can or can't stream is not always the coolest thing. But for a gaming PC, you could definitely do as cheap as like $400 if you wanted to today for 1080p. It might just be like 60 FPS, but it'll game. So it just depends on, your budget. What's your budget? I'm a gaming content creator, GTA, and my internet sucks on my computer. What all do I need? Like CPU capture card, some of that stuff. I don't know what it is or mean. So are you on Wi-Fi if you say your internet sucks? Can you explain why your internet sucks? Likes one of these? Ah, shit. Some giant idiot just redeemed Hydrate, and I'm hydrating with Mountain Dew currently. Very healthy. All right. We've got the brackets there. We're gonna drop this cooler on to the CPU. We of course need our thermal pasty. Do not sniff or taste or apply to your tongue directly, please. Avoid doing that. You should be applying it to your CPU. Dang it. Oh, I fucked that up. I screwed that up royally. A lot of French words coming out of my mouth tonight. Alright, thermal rate logo we want matching the T-Force logo. So it looks semi close to what that is. Dang it, my long screwdriver's still out in the RV. I gotta go find it. So it is the knuckle peeler. Yum, tasty paste. Yeah, don't eat the paste. So next up is we have to install our fans. Give us a little bit of a zoom so you can see better. Wi-Fi. So you're on the Wi-Fi. I'm monetized already, got about $2,000 if it's worth it. It's the same upload speed or Wi-Fi. It's the same upload speed Wi-Fi, or it has the phone wire plug-in. So the Wi-Fi is the same as your wired connection. So I guess what is the problem that you're experiencing? Are you experiencing disconnects while you're streaming or lag? What's the reason for looking at a new computer? And if you have a computer currently, what is it currently? The specs. Let's start with that. I'm just trying to make sure, you know, if you go and invest in a new computer, if it's going to solve your problem or not. Lag. What kind of, I guess, when you're lagging, describe the lag. Because there's all sorts of different lag that people come to me and tell me about. They'll tell me, I'm lagging. And it turns out after talking to them or looking at the problem, it's their stuttering, which isn't really internet lag, it's actually PC performance lag, where, you know, FPS, frames per second, is super low. Then there's the ping lag. Then there's ping lag, where you have super high ping, super high ping. So when you look at your internet speed or you're in game and you look at your ping is the time it takes for your device to connect to the internet, go to the server that you're connected to for the game, and then come back to you. That's how long it takes to travel. That should be lower. The lower the number for ping, the better. The higher the number for FPS, the better, frames per second. So those are two types of lags that you could experience on the PC. Other lag, I've had people come tell me and say, yeah, I lag a lot. Ends up just being their load time, and it's because they're on a hard drive versus a solid state drive, meaning they have their game or their title on a hard drive, not a solid state drive. So the term lag can be used in many different ways. So in order to kind of help troubleshoot, we'd have to better understand the situation of exactly what's happening. So when you say lag, you just need to provide a little bit more detail. So it's a stutter. Okay. Freeze, and then it'll skip. So that sounds more like performance. Do you know any of the specs on the PC? So I know you said it seems like French. If you download a tool called CPU-Z, it'll pretty much tell you everything you need to know about the PC. The CPU, the motherboard, the RAM, and the graphics card are the four main components outside of the storage. Wish my parents was gamers. Yeah. Goat cooler. Yeah, this is the Thermalright Peerless Assassin. It is one of the greatest of all time, I think. For sure. It's a beast. Alright. So now that we've got the cooler installed, we're going to go ahead and get our fans plugged in here, and then I'll tidy these cables up a little bit. Prep them for the case. These are my fancy new wire snips. Super sharp. Snip, snip. Snip, snip, snip. They do a really good job. Like, effortlessly cutting things. Including wires you probably don't want to cut. Yeah, download that CPU-Z tool. I'll type that in chat so you have that. And then run that tool. And let me know what your motherboard, your CPU, your RAM, and your motherboard, your CPU... I'll type it in the chat. It's a really weird keyboard to type on. So those are the things that we want to look at. Grab those items and bring it forth, and we shall look at it together. Or type in system info in the search bar, or you can do that. I just don't like how obnoxious system info can be. If you look at system info, there's just a lot of ridiculous amount of information that you probably won't use or need. It's easier for me to just tell them to go. At least that's what I found. Go download this. And then it opens, and there it is. But it is case time. Time to get that case out. I subbed too, thanks. Oh, thank you. I don't know why I don't get the notifications when I'm live. For some reason on YouTube, with my Streamlabs, I don't get the notification when people sub. I don't know why that happens. Oh! It's a beast of a case. This here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Montec XR. Very similar to the Sky 2, but it is the light version. For those of you that want to save a few bucks and put that money towards a CPU or a graphics card, which is what we did for this budget. We saved on the case, and we put it towards the CPU and the graphics card. The last build that we did with this case was the UPS man. Chad, the UPS dude. And I remember, blindfolded, does somebody reclaim that? Or claim that? I unboxed that case, this case, blindfolded. Gosh dang it, there's tape. Toolless entry. So there's toolless entry to enter the side panel, minus the tape you have to remove the first time, or the first go. And the rear panel will have, the thumb screw here at the top and a thumb screw here at the bottom to remove the rear panel, which then just pulls away. The rear panel also has the mesh for the intake on the side, along with a nice magnetic mesh screen that you can remove and clean. The front glass panel is also removable if you would like to remove it, but we're not going to. And as we look inside the case itself, we have two reversed blades here for intake. So those are 120 millimeter fans on the side as your intake, and then an included addressable RGB 120 millimeter fan on the rear. And I believe they are PWM, which I confirmed here they are. There is no hub included with this case versus the Sky 2 or really most of the Montec cases that include a hub. This does not include a hub, so that's where they're saving cost. Another feature is that the front I/O is down here at the bottom of the case and not at the top. So it's on the front at the bottom, not at the top, which is an interesting design to me as well. Not something you would see on a lot of cases, but is becoming more and more modern. I've seen it a lot lately on a lot of cases. So it is becoming more and more modern, or typical. Outside of that, we have one 3.5 inch SSD cage at the bottom here, which will hold, it looks like, up to two 3.5 drives if you wanted to, one inside the cage itself and one at the top. And it looks like we can also mount a 2.5 inch SSD here and also on the cage as well if you needed a 2.5 inch on the cage. So either two 3.5 inch or one 2.5 and one 3.5 inch drives and a 2.5 inch here if you needed additional storage added to the case. It fits a full ATX power supply, which slides in here through the side. We have rubber for the cutouts, which is nice. It adds a nice touch to it. We have a magnetic dust removal dust cover here for the top, or filter. And then we have perforated side panel here, allowing airflow for any fans that you want to install at the bottom, which you can install up to, it looks like, 3 120 millimeter fans here at the bottom and 3 at the top. Or you could do a 360 millimeter AIO at the top, or radiator at the top, 360 millimeters. You can do a 240 millimeter AIO here on the side, but I don't recommend that because it's going to be pushed out to the point where if you get a long enough graphics card, you won't be able to install it because the radiator will be in the way. So I would recommend top mount radiators for this case. The bottom, you can also, if you're doing an open loop in this for some reason, which I hope you're not, you could put a 360 millimeter radiator down here at the bottom and add 3 fans, but An open loop in this case would be pretty tight in my opinion. I don't recommend trying to do that. It'll limit your graphics card length as well. So this would be an AIO case maximum. 360 millimeters is what I would recommend for this. The metal itself, pretty good. It's pretty good build quality. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's good. Good enough to build in, and the PC will last in one piece, obviously. But you save some money on this. You could definitely tell where Montech shaved some of the cost while still trying to maintain their quality. But this is the cheaper version of the Sky 2. Yo, what's up? Let's see here. I'm a little bit behind on the chat now. Gary Smith, get a Gen 3 or OS drive. Gary Smith, I know Gen 5 NVMEs are overpriced. Yes, they are. And get red hot. But what Gen 4 NVMe would you go for that is for the operating system that is stable and reliable long term? So the Gen 4 SSD I would recommend is obviously going to be a either a Team Group MP44. That's the model. That's a great SSD. It has SLC cache and it's TLC and NVMe. So it is it doesn't dump, meaning it doesn't lose its performance as you are transferring large amounts of data. It will maintain its performance throughout the transfer, mostly. You're also going to be limited by the throughput of the CPU at that point, because you're getting up into 7,000 megabits transfer rate. But that is a good drive. I've used it several times, actually, on a lot of high-end builds. I've used it, and it works great. Never had any problems with them. Now, Samsung, on the other hand, is another option, although they had those weird issues with the 980s, or it was the 990s, I can't remember which one it was, that needed a firmware upgrade, and that wreaked havoc because I used a lot of those. And so I had to reach out to a bunch of people that had them and ask if they would be willing for me to do a remote session to update the firmware. So, kind of a pain in the butt on the Samsung side. There was, I guess, a firmware issue where the SSDs were burning themselves out, basically, or shortening their life because they were drawing too much power. I can't remember the exact issue. It was a while ago, but it was annoying. To add on to all the other problems. How much money do you think I could get for a PC with a 2060 Super, i7-9700K, 32 gigs of RAM on Marketplace? So the platform right there, the 9700K, the 9th gen platform on a either, what is it? I think it's a 300 series motherboard, probably is what you have. But it's unfortunate because that platform did not hold its value since like 2022. Its value just tanked as soon as the 11th or 12th gen came out. 9th gen value just went out the window. So unfortunately, even though because it's an i7, you're not going to get a whole lot for it. People aren't really going to be willing, unless they just don't know what they're buying, a crazy ton of money for that. So I'd say a good price point for your rig is going to be the 600 750 range used, maybe like 750 top end, and that's pushing it. But 650 is probably a reasonable price for it, depending on what else is in the PC. I don't know. Like, I don't know what cooler you have. I don't know what storage you have in there. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. So but that's what I would start looking at, is 600. Another thing you could do is look on eBay and say, filter out sold as, and then look up PCs with those components and see what they've been selling for on eBay. And then you can also browse your local Facebook marketplace and see what other people have listed with the same specs or close to it. And kind of, if you want to sell it fast, obviously mark it under the price that they have listed and try to undercut them. Always check prices. If the Samsung Gen 3 is the same price as a Gen 4, yes, they are right now. It's kind of stupid. Some giant idiot. I'm in Michigan, like 20 miles from Detroit. Oh, nice. I'm over here in Lake Orion, Michigan, so about an hour north of Detroit is where we are. Okay, but is there no difference boot speed between Gen 3 and Gen 4? So, there's a little bit, but not enough to say it's worth buying a Gen 4 over a Gen 3 just for the boot speed difference. The Gen 4 benefit is really when it comes to large data transfers or large downloads. When you're downloading a game, for example, it will maintain the write speed back to the drive because you're downloading the data from the internet, and then the CPU then has to write it to the drive, and it'll maintain a higher speed, making your download appear faster. So you will see it. You will notice a difference, but you also have to keep, make sure you don't buy a Gen 4 that's like 2200 megabits per second. Buy a Gen 4 that's 5000 megabits per second, and also make sure you have PCIe Gen 4 support, or PCIe 4.0 support, meaning your CPU supports it and your motherboard supports it. I use that word, RVVet. I did it. It's about $300 more than I would pay for it. The system is like 6 or 7 years old. I know. That's the shitty thing, is like, it's still a good platform. You could still use it, but it is like 6 or 7 years old. That's what I'm saying, is I don't know what else is in the system. If you price it all out, it would probably come out to like, I don't know, $500, $650 in parts if you tried to rebuild it. But nobody's going to build that system, so you also have to think of that, which means it's probably going to drop the price more. It's just that generation of components did not hold their value. They did not, unless it was 2020 during COVID, or 2020, what year is that, 2021 or 22? I can't remember what year it was anymore. My brain's fried, man. The insane graphics card price era. Like 2 years ago. Gary Smith, virtually not existing difference in boot or load speeds. Yeah, you won't really notice a difference with the boot speed. Basically, Windows is going to boot as fast as it's going to boot on Gen 3, and anything faster is not really noticeable at that point. It's kind of like 3 frame difference. Yeah, 3 FPS difference. All right. Always go for the cheapest option. If Gen 3 is like 50% the price, go for it. Yeah, but it's not. So a 2 terabyte, for example, M.2 NVMe Gen 3 is like 80, 90 bucks for like a Silicon Power Team Group model. And then Gen 4 is like 117. It's, $20 or $30 difference, I guess. Pretty sure 1300, yes, it would. It would run circles around the 9700K, which is sad. That's what I'm saying, is the 9th gen just did not hold its value. And I don't know why. They just it just didn't stick around very long, unfortunately. They were great when they were out, although that was also in the beginning of AMD Ryzen times. I think that was 2nd generation Ryzen or 3rd generation Ryzen, which started really putting pressure on Intel. So Intel had to step it up, basically. Okay. Let's continue building, since I'm pretty sure I'm caught up on the chat. Yeah, it was around the time of the Ryzen 7 3700X. Yeah, 3rd generation Ryzen. Man, that was one of the best times. At being an AMD guy, I've always been an AMD guy, but I'm not like a fanboy. But it was a pretty good feeling, even though I'm not like an AMD fanboy that's gonna go around and say Team Red. I don't care, Team Red, Team Blue. It's all the same to me. But I prefer to run AMD generally because it's cheaper. It's better price per dollar, better performance per dollar, should I say. That's a better way to say it. So I've always been a Team Red fanboy, but it was really cool seeing AMD, come out and become, just become a powerhouse. Really get one up on Intel. When the Ryzen series, the 3000 series came out, it was like, dang. They're competing versus, the i7 4th gen versus, or the 4000 4th gen Intel series versus like the AMD's FX series, which was just garbage. It was trash. Anyway, let's get back to building. Space heater. Oh yeah, the quote-unquote octa-core CPU, which was actually not. Or the hexacore, sorry. The hexacore CPU that was not a hexacore CPU, it was 4 cores, 8 threads, or something like that. It was like a fake 8-core CPU, virtual cores. And then AMD got sued for that. I actually got my $3 or $2 from AMD from that lawsuit. Believe it or not. Not that I wanted it. A check just showed up in the mail for $2 or whatever it was. It was kind of retarded. I was like, seriously, guys? I thought this was a meme. But I did run that AMD CPU and I ran it its entire life. The FX 8350, I think, is what I had. Was a beast in my eyes. Did everything I asked it to do, which I was happy with. Can't even buy an AMD sticker on AMD for $2. Nope, can't. The 2600 Super does have 8 gigs of VRAM, which is nice. Yes, they also made the 12 gig version of that too. But yeah, you're right. The graphics card's not a bad card. No, the 2060. Shoot, didn't they make a 6 gig version and then a 12 gig version? I don't think they made an 8 gig version. Am I wrong? It was a Super 8 gig. It's been so long since I talked about the 2000 series, I can't even remember anymore. Somebody tell me if I'm right or wrong there. I remember the 12 gig card coming out, and then I was like, why? Because the 3060 came out. I'm like, just make more 3060s. But the main reason why is because they had a whole bunch of 2060 cards without memory on them, and then they needed to sell them and compete with an RTX 3060 pricing. They gave you a reason to buy the 2060 12 gig version. That and or they didn't have enough chips to satisfy everybody's demand for the RTX 3060. Yeah. I didn't even know you could buy stickers on Amazon, AMD stickers on Amazon, actually. Yeah, and by the way, the price of the CPU was like, at the time, I think it was over $100. Which at the time was a lot. You know, we're talking like a different time of PC building, where you could buy a top-end PC for like $1,000, like high-end, for its tech. Until my new system is finished, I'm still using my AMD FX 6200. Nice. Yeah, it's still a relatively decent chip. It's got the hexacore set up on it, right? 6 cores. Although I don't know if that's exactly real. I don't know what's real anymore. But yeah, no, that was a good chip too. It was a well-used chip by iBuyPower too. AMD landed a pretty good deal with them. And CyberPower. Both of them. Both of them use that chip religiously. Alright, one more screw. One more screw. Oh, already hit a screw there. I would upgrade the GPU to like a 6750 XT. But, yeah, actually, you could probably find one for like 300 bucks or less. But anyway, Gary Smith said he was using his AMD FX 6200 gigabyte LMT 78 motherboard, 32 gigs of 1333 megahertz RAM, and an NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti. You sell or put it on an Antiques Roadshow. Should I sell it? It's going to be hard to sell that because it's such an old platform now. It's not even DDR4. I think the last time I sold a PC like that was a couple years ago, and it was like for like $100 or a couple $100 or something like that. And it was to a kid that saved up some money, and I was like, dude, just save up some more money. And he really wanted a PC, so I was like, okay, I'll just do $100 on this. I felt bad. I felt bad selling it. Like, I should have just given it away. That was a couple years ago. Oh, this isn't good. So if you guys are building in this case and you're putting the Peerless Assassin in here, the top screw for this particular case is very difficult to get access to with your typical standard screwdriver size. I think I got it. All right. The next step is we have front panel connections that we have to do. So I'm going to go ahead and route these connections. Thankfully, this board has USB-C. I forgot this case has it, but it has it. USB 3.0 to the side here. And then we have our front panel connector. They'll just slide in right here. And the last one is our HD audio, which will slide in at the bottom. Flip those over. See what we got. There we are. The next step is case fans. Let's go ahead and install our case fans. I was thinking about doing 3 intake on the bottom, but I think I'm just going to do exhaust because we already have 2 intake here on the side. I think it'll just look better with either 2 or 3 at the top here, and maybe 1 intake on the bottom. But I got 3 fans to work with here, so let's go ahead and get those installed. These are Thermaltake C12CS 120 millimeters PWM addressable RGB fans. Maximum RPM, give or take 5 or 10%, 1500 RPMs. And I think their hours, their runtime. Static pressure is 1.53, which isn't bad. Decibels is 25.6, so a little on the louder side. Plus or minus 10%, sorry. 1550 RPM. Sounds really close. Really close on those specs. Sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Does that case have both front and top USB-C? No. So there is no front panel interface here. It's all on the bottom front here. But it's got USB-C here on the front. And that is the Montech XR. I would upgrade the GPU. Yeah, we already ran through that one. 777's processor. Okay, finally got to your comment here, sorry. Processor is an Intel N95. That can't be right. Is that a NUC processor? You guys are going to have to help me with this one. Intel N95. 1.7 gigahertz. That right there is probably a problem. I don't know what that is. RAM 16 gigabytes, 64 gigs, 64-bit operating system, x64 based processor. Yeah, pretty much everything today is going to be. But we want to know what the GPU is, as well as motherboard. If you have that. It's a mobile CPU. Is this a laptop? Or a NUC? It could be a NUC. Like a little Raspberry Pi or something. Mini PC? Yeah, I think it's a mini PC too. Yeah, I don't think that's enough horsepower for streaming and gaming on it at the same time, or gaming at all on that thing. Maybe if it had like a decent enough on like AMD APU, maybe Alder Lake N chip. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Alder. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one at all. I don't really do a whole lot in the mobile space, so when it comes to like mobile processors like that, unless it's in the AMD family, I don't do a lot there with Intel. So I would say that's definitely a problem though. And yes, upgrading your PC will probably solve your problem. Yes. 4-core, 4-thread. Yeah, that's barely enough to even game in 720. Maybe 1080p. Barely enough. And then it also depends on the graphics card. So you will definitely have, Triple, a better experience if you upgrade to a real PC from that. I think what it is a NUC or a mini PC that you have. So yes, that will probably solve the problem. Everybody here in agreement, say aye. The council has decided. We have consulted. Still, I haven't got an answer on that 2060 Super. Did they make an 8 gig model? I can't remember. Maybe it was the 8 gig model from the 6. And I'm just crazy. Not the 12. I could have sworn they made a 12. And I was super weirded out by it. I don't know if I like this. There's not a whole ton of space here. I can tell you right now, getting these EPS cables in here is going to be a pain in the arse. I think I'm going to do 2 top, 2 bottom. I have decided just to help 2 top, 1 bottom, help with the airflow. Dang it, I'm putting it in the fucking wrong one. Nice. Two top, 1 bottom. That should do it. Kind of like the Montech Sky 2. Comes with 1 on the bottom. But he can always add more fans if he wants to. Not a big deal. Always capable of doing so. But the reason why is because we have an air cooler in here. We have intake on the side, and then we have exhaust at the top. I don't want to put that third one at the top and just suck out all of our intake on the side directly out the top, because that would be kind of dumb. So I want to kind of pull the airflow back to the CPU to get sucked out the back. It's kind of ideally what I want to do. And to help with the airflow intake is to add another fan on the bottom as intake, so it adds airflow in. I think what I'm going to do is just drop this in line. Maybe right here. Not really lined up the way I thought it would be. The middle would be ideal, right here, to help blow some cool air up. That is what I will do. We have decided. It is final. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but I've got 2 fans here at the top, and I'm just going to add 1 here at the bottom, just to get some airflow into the graphics card, and that will get sucked up to the CPU. I don't think I have any more of these fans sitting here, even if I wanted to add more. Where's my little nubby? Found him. My little nub. Okay, so now we've got our fans installed. We just got to get our fans plugged in, put a graphics card in, put a power supply in, and then we have a special build that I've already built for the most part that we need to finish. So we'll be doing that after this one is completed. Which I'm excited to complete for Adrian because I know he's been waiting for this build for the longest time. But alright, let's get these fans under control, these RGB connections, there's a million of them. We need to get this under control. This is a fan. These are fans. Fans, fam. These are all daisy chained, actually. Potentially daisy chain. Don't like this. Remove that. Can't really do anything with that. Right. We got all our fans plugged in except for one ARGB connection which was hiding on me. There it is. And I have another one. That was one. One of the connections. Thought I had another one here that I had to plug in. Aha. Here it is. Kind of goofy. Kind of a goofy mess. So I was trying to split up the fans between the two headers so we don't have them all loaded on one header, because we don't have external power source for it, which is, you know, a lot better. So there we go. We've got our fans installed. We got our motherboard installed. We got our cooler installed. We got our CPU, our RAM, our SSD. Our case is all plugged in and ready to go. We just need to add a graphics card and a power supply. Let's do that. Ow. Make sure to peel these off if you find them on your graphics card. These are these little clear plastic protections that come with the card when it's brand new. But they like to fall off and get sucked into the fan and cover up, block airflow on the heatsink on the card. Seen it many of times. And it sucks when you find it, because you're like, oh, this is why everything's overheating. This is the Gigabyte RTX 3060, 12 gigabyte, WindForce OC. It's a nice 3-fan card. Add a little flavor to the build, and also keep the card nice and cool for what it's about to endure. Also, the card weight really doesn't need a support bracket, though you could purchase one if you're worried. But there's enough support on this case that I don't think it's a problem. And the weight of the card is just not significant. Hey, what's up, World Star? What is your Steam schedule, if you don't mind me asking? My stream schedule. Jeez. Sorry, I'm kind of tired. It's really when I have builds, but for the most part, I am streaming in the evenings on weekdays. Sometimes we'll get a good weekend stream, like a Saturday stream or a Sunday stream going. But for the most part, it's mostly on weekdays in the evenings, and it can vary. But generally, Thursdays, every Thursday is usually the day, and then everything else is a bonus. Like this week, we might have back-to-back streams with all the builds we have to do. But it all depends on how many builds we're doing. So the more builds we have, the more streams we'll have. I'm Eastern time, so when I say evenings, I would say after 7 p.m. Eastern time would be the start times. But Thursday is definitely a day that I will be almost always live. Whether or not we're doing a build or talking tech or whatever we're doing. Or just making a video. moving around, having fun. Okay, the last thing we have to do, which I wish I did before I put this cooler in, is route that EPS cable, but we're gonna put this power supply in, and it's gonna be a tight fit. It's gonna be a tight fit up there with the Thermalright Peerless Assassin already in there. But I have faith in my large hands and fingers, not large, to fit and make this happen. So, I think we can do this. If I can figure out how to open up the box, that would be a good start, right? But we're almost there, guys. We just got to do the power supply, do some cable management, and then we'll fire this bad boy up and see if we get a post. And then Adrian, we're one step closer to having this ready for you tomorrow. So weird saying Adrian because it's my daughter. Is swapping out a PSU hard for noobs? It can be intimidating because there's so many cables. But the important thing is that you've really only got, in this build, for example, you've only got like 1, 2, 3 connections that you have to deal with. So if you look at this big ball of cables and you're like, "Duh!" Don't. You're really going to limit it to 3 different connections. That's all you have to worry about. EPS, which is your 8-pin power supply, 8-pin CPU power connection, and then your 24-pin for your motherboard, and then your 8-pin or 6-pin for your graphics card, and it could be now a 16-pin depending on what graphics card you have. Lots of different graphics card these days. We thought we were really cool when we started introducing PCIe 6-pin connections to our graphics cards back in the day. Now look at us, we have 16 pins as a minimum. Like, oh yeah, I need a power cord for my graphics card, it must be dope. But normally what I'll do is I'll get the power supply mounted like I just did, and then I'll take the cables that I need, that I know for sure I need, which is our 24-pin connection here. This big wide one, wide looking thing. That one I know is going into the motherboard, which is generally in this location of the case. I'll just route that, push it through. And then I'll go locate my EPS cable for my CPU and do the same thing. Which is this one here. Usually, or some power supplies will actually even label them. But I'll also take the time to make sure I untangle this a little bit. I don't know why that's tangled like that, though. That kind of sucks. That's from the factory. And I'll run it up there to the corner where it's got to go. Somehow. I knew this was going to be a nightmare. With that cooler there. That'll be fun. That will be fun. And then the last one you need to deal with is your PCIe 8-pin for your graphics card. Usually labeled PCIe. I don't know if you can read that or not, but it's PCIe. And that goes to your graphics card. And for the most part, you just run that towards, usually in the bottom. This one's in the middle. So I'm going to run it from the bottom up to the graphics card. Oh, we do have the fan there. Yeah, we'll just run it there for now. See what it looks like. Now that I have all three of the cables that I need through the other side of the case, I'll flip it around. All my cables are here, so all I gotta do is grab my cables and plug them in. Plug it in, plug it in. So for this PCIe cable, I am gonna do some zip ties on it though, just because I don't want these cables looking like junk on the inside of the case. Since it's on the front side, we want it to look nice and neat. We'll drop some zip ties in here. Clean it up. Make it look fancy. Or as fancy as we can. And then we'll clip the ends. Right? And then the 24-pin power supply connection right here, right where we said it would be. And then push any of our excess cables back through the rubber, if you have rubber. Either way, push the extra back through. And then the last one, the most difficult, is going to be our EPS cable, which is down here in this dark, scary cavern, cave looking thing, which my hand has to go into. But as I put my hand in there, I could feel it being gnawed, it feels like, by an alligator, but it's actually not. It is the side of the heatsink, and I've lost my power cord. Dang it, get back here. And some tricks and tips here is to get it kind of lined up the best you can, which I don't have yet. And then I might use my pick to push it in, because I don't think I'm going to get in there. Or a screwdriver to help guide it. I'm going to have to get in the way for this one, because that was tough. Highly recommend, if it's your first time, get that cord up there so you can plug it in as you're mounting the motherboard before you do anything else, because that is a pain in the butt to get to once you have this big cooler in there. Very difficult. So that is one thing I would recommend if it's a new build. While you're installing the cooler on the motherboard, while you're installing the motherboard with the cooler on it, make sure your power supply is already in and you have the EPS cable up there so you can move the board, plug your cable in, and then place your board. Then that wouldn't have been a problem. That probably would have irritated anybody that's first time building. Does fully modular make it easier? It does, in a way, meaning you won't have as many cables to deal with inside the case. The downside is it feels more intimidating because you have two connections to make. You have a connection from that end of the power supply, from that end of the power supply to the motherboard, or to the graphics card, or to the CPU power. And some people will feel intimidated because they don't understand that there are two separate ends on the cable. So they'll try to plug one end in, it won't work, they'll flip it around and find out it works. You know, it's just taking your time doing it. Hey, what's up, Reflection? How is it going? Welcome to the build show, sir. So it just depends, you know. We are looking good. We're in good shape for this build. Good shape, I think. We just have to do some cable management on the backside, and then we are good to fire this thing up. And we'll find out if it works. Hopefully it does, right? Yeah. I mean, I built it, so it should. Good work. Lately, it's not been the case. Not my fault, though. Not my fault. We've had a lot of lemon parts lately. I've had bad motherboards, I've had bad CPUs, I've had bad RTX 4090s. Brand new out of the box. This month has been shit. Build quality or quality control from everybody who's gone into the shit. What the shit? That's all I can say. Alright, so typically I try to run this down here, but it is such a tight fit given the circumstances. I'm just going to run it all down the middle at this point. We're just going to start there and work our way down from the top. This almost needs a sock because there's just so many little pieces of cables with the, because there's no hub. We're not using a hub for this one. Right? A sock would have been really nice here. A wire sock or sleeve. Forgot these Velcros existed. I want to try to pull as much cable downwards as I can. Get it in that bottom chamber. What do you guys think? It's simple. One main harness going down, top to bottom. Because if we ever need to service it, we still need to take it apart, but it's, at least there's no cables just flying everywhere. Right? So, about all you really need to do is just spend some time there. But there you go. I don't know if Adrian's here or not. If you are, let me know. Hey. There you go. That looks like a gaming PC to me. Nice, neat build. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, man, is the 7616 gigabyte AM4 compatible? What do you mean by that? 7600. Oh, you mean the Ryzen 5 7600? I don't think so. I think it's DDR5 only. Yeah, that platform's only DDR5. That is not even a question in my head. Don't know why I had to ask. Yeah, the Ryzen 7 7600 or the Ryzen 5 7600 is not DDR4. It's only DDR5. So you would have to get DDR5 if that's what you're asking. All right, let's plug this in and fire it up, and then we'll move on to the next project that we're in the middle of, that I was working on off stream, but I thought I'd bring it. Damn it! I cannot believe that happens every. Look at that fucking tab. Excuse my French. Hopefully nobody heard that. All right, some side view. Let's go. Let's get that side view going. Please hold. Adjusting the camera position. Who's ready for me to push this power button? Is Adrian here? If you're here, man, you gotta tell us when to push this button. If not, we're gonna nominate someone to do so. It'd be really cool if I had a command somewhere on the stream chat with an actuator that would push the button for you. But I don't have that. Oh, the RX 7600. Sure, yeah. Yeah, you could run the RX 7600, the GPU, for sure. Is it better than the 3060? Yes, I would say it is slightly better than the 3060. Actually, probably a lot better with FSR. Let's do this! Alright, some giant idiot, you have been nominated to tell me to push the button, and you told me that we are pushing this button. Lots of RGBs. There's nothing on the screen yet. We're still waiting for a post. CPU Lite did something. Took forever for the CPU to show up. Is it real? Is it even a real CPU? I got it basically the same price as a 5600. So, I'm a deal finder. I really wanted you to have a 5700X for your streaming. I was like, man, the 5600 will work. It's just not as good as 8 cores. So, here we are. We got a white light. Something's happening. Yes! There's the post. We got it. And we've got the BIOS. Yay! So we've got a post. Post means power on self-test, which means that it has successfully posted with the basic hardware, which is the CPU, the motherboard, the RAM, and the VGA GPU. So those are the requirements to have a successful post. Post means it made it to the BIOS and has successfully powered on, and it's ready for the next step, which is an operating system, a BIOS update. So we're going to install Windows 11, we're going to do a BIOS update, and we're also going to set our XMP profile for the RAM, 32 gigs, and then we're also going to install all of our drivers, and then start battle testing it. So I'm planning on having this PC ready for Adrian sometime tomorrow. So I've got to pretty much jump on this tonight after the next project. So there you go, Adrian. We have your PC built. It is looking fine. Once we get this RGB synced up, it'll even look more fine. More fine. More fans. Yeah, one more kit of 3 fans would have filled it out, so we would have had 1 up here and 2 down there, and then I would have been probably 100% satisfied with the build. But I mean, we did what we did with the budget, on top of already upgrading him from a 5600 to a 5700X, and the cooler as well. We upgraded from the Thermalright King to a Peerless Assassin, and then we also added these additional fans. Originally we weren't going to, but once we started getting into the bigger CPU, I was like, I want more airflow in this. So I added those 3 fans as well. And he originally purchased a 512 gigabyte SSD to start with, and I was like, nah, that's not gonna fly, so I threw in the 1 terabyte instead. So double the storage, better CPU cooler, and added fans for you because of well, the long wait. Hopefully it paid off. So here we are. Here's your PC, man. The alias looks great. Thanks. Thank you. Is that you? Is that you, Adrian, over there on Twitch? Bit quiet over on Twitch. Good. We got lots of people over on YouTube right now. Yeah, nice. So, well, I'll get the rest of this finished up here, and then we should have it ready for pickup sometime tomorrow. So just wait for the email or the text. I'll shoot you a text probably, letting you know it's ready for pickup. And then all you got left to do is start playing on it, start gaming, set up your OBS, start your stream, share your channel, drop your channel in our Discord. We'll check it out. Cool. All right. So the last thing I got to do on the stream tonight, technically I don't even have to stream it, but I'm going to just because it's cool issues, more issues. I had a Intel i9 14900K that was dead. It's a beast. So just enjoy looking at this for a moment while I go say goodnight to the little miss. But this is the Thermaltake Tower 300 that we built in. It's an ITX case. But the CPU was bad. So we have a new CPU that we're going to drop in, and we also added the LGA 1700 contact frame. So we're going to do that here on stream. Okay, we're back. You want it? It's a tight case. It's actually Not as bad as I thought it would be building in it. It was actually my first time building in the 300, the newer version of the tower by Thermaltake. Fits a 360 millimeter AIO. Kind of weird if you have some weird stuff, for example, on this Corsair cooler. It's the newer style, which has the connections at the top with the links connections. Kind of tight if you have stuff at the top of the cooler. So if it is any longer than 360 millimeters, I would be concerned. Because then it starts not fitting properly. Or not fitting at all. Graphics card size, you could pretty much fit pretty large card. You could fit pretty large cards in here. There was space underneath this down here at the bottom. This is a 4080 Super in here right now, which is a beefy card. You know, it's a pretty large card, and it's the ROG Strix card as well. So it's one of the larger sizes you'll work with. But for the most part, you could pretty much put anything you want in this system, outside of you're just limited on the ITX board. The 360 millimeter size radiator is your cap, and then 4090, I would suggest going with a smaller version if you're trying to cram one in here. I wouldn't try to do the ROG Strix. I would try to avoid that. And then also another thing is, if you are going with this card or any other NVIDIA card that has a 16-pin connector, you're going to need some sort of L bracket here, because it just sticks out way too far, too close to the glass, in my opinion. I mean, there's probably clearance and I could probably get it to work just by the elbow. It's like 10 bucks or whatever it was, 20 bucks or something. But and then also, this case does not include a bottom 140 millimeter fan, so I threw one in here for him. It's just a plain black one to match the plain black ones that he had that was included with the case. So we added more airflow because there was no intake, because I have the AIO set as exhaust right now. So the intake will come in and the card breathes from the side, and the AIO exhausts from the side. So interesting design, that's all I can say. But let's go ahead and drop our new CPU into the socket. We'll start there. So this guy was building it locally on his own, and he got to the point where he took it all back apart because it wouldn't post. Ended up being what I think was a bad CPU, because it would just immediately stop on the CPU light. Wouldn't even try getting past it. So I'm pretty certain it was a bad CPU. We'll find out here on the stream if it is or isn't, but I'm pretty certain it is. We've also replaced the motherboard already, so this is a brand new motherboard, we know for sure. And we have a brand new Intel i9 14900K. The only other thing we didn't try outside of me swapping RAM with the old CPU was new RAM, but we'll find out here with the new CPU. See if it works. Sound like fun? Is that case easy to build in? It's not your typical ATX case, it's an ITX case that is different. So our motherboard is flipped around. That is one complaint that I actually have, is the I/O on the back of the motherboard is up here at the top. So you have to run your cables through the back of the case and then inside of your case to plug anything into the back of your motherboard. So it's definitely more of a show case to show off than it is practical, in my opinion. But I'm constantly reaching for the back of my PC all the time, plugging things, unplugging things, all of that. And here's our shiny Intel box, which you just twist, remove, and there's our 14900K in there. Brand new, never touched. The Virgin 14900K. pretty sure he wants to keep the box, so I'm gonna save that. Let's open this up and drop our new CPU in. And then we're going to swap out that contact frame once we secure the pins with the CPU. You definitely do not want to drop that CPU onto the pins. Very, very dangerous. Very expensive mistake. Not speaking from experience. Maybe I am. Thermaltake makes some cool cases. Yeah, they do make a lot of cool looking cases. Tower 300 is a unique design, so if you want something unique, it's definitely in that unique department, for sure. Alright, so I'm going to get my hand on the back here so I can hold the back of this contact frame plate. I'm also going to swap out to my other screwdriver to make this faster. I'm just going to get one screw in there so I can grab that back plate so it doesn't disappear on me on the back side. And I'll get the rest of these in here. And then loosen up this side so we can go down evenly. But there is a back plate on the back of this board and it will fall through if you don't hold it. If you're doing this inside your case, probably not the best idea. Don't ever stand up your case while you have your CPU just dangling there in the socket. Usually I recommend doing this outside of the case so you don't have any possibility of accidentally screwing up and your CPU falling out of the socket and bending pins or anything like that. So, generally a process you don't want to do inside the case unless you're experienced and know what you're doing. Or you're comfortable with taking the chance and replacing your motherboard if you need to. So, how to measure my case for GPU size? I wouldn't just measure. I'd just go look up the case manufacturer specs. They should be posted on the manufacturer's website. My money is bent pins. Yes. It looks like a bomb. Yeah, it kind of does. Hey guys, you could really do a super sick looking like Call of Duty Warzone scene with this PC. Like a bomb. Defusing it. That would be dope. Oh yeah. Needed my cooler nuts. And then I need my thermal paste. Come here, you paste. You wee little paste, you. I'm gonna try to put Cryonaut back on here. I put some other stuff on there that was wipeable without tears before to test it. But now I'm gonna put the Cryonaut Extreme on there. Are you gonna troubleshoot that 14900K? I'm going to attempt to figure out if it's gonna post or not right now. So that's my troubleshooting length, and then I gotta get Windows installed and make sure the BIOS is updated, etc. I sure hope it is the CPU, because we went out of the way to return the other one and get this new one. Got a lot of money tied up in this build, actually. He does. Kinda sucks. It was his first build experience, and it sucked. I feel bad. Don't really need that. We just need basics. This is what I was talking about. You have to go through the back and plug in all your I/O here on the top of the case, which is, for me, it's obnoxious. And then we'll see if I can even get this turned around so that we can see it. We're not going to be out with the cable length on my bench. It's not going to be looking so great. But we'll see at least a little bit of it. All right, here we go. We're ready to power this beast on. Let's see if we solve the problem with the CPU replacement. We immediately do not have the red light. So, 99.9% sure the red light was the problem. Or the CPU was the problem. And that's normal for DDR5. It's going through a memory training process, so we've already solved the problem. Oh, that dead one already went back. The dead one. The dead one already went back, so there's nothing I can do about that, because he purchased it. There's a post. He purchased it to build it himself before he brought it to me. And when it didn't work, he's like, ah! But unfortunately, all it was a bad CPU. Another bad CPU, guys. Another one. What is that, like 3 this week? 3 or 4. And a bad 4090. But yeah, that was a shitty experience for him. Kind of a cool case. We'll get that rotated through the software. We can rotate that with the software. I like it. Looks dope. Yeah. I've always wanted to crack open a dead... Yeah, I already read that one. How to measure my case for GPU. I think we touched on that as well. Pretty much caught up on the chat. Kind of slowed down. I'm cool with it. It's getting late. 11 o'clock. Yeah, the case is surprisingly, after I got my bearings straight as to orientation on the motherboard and stopped trying to put it in the wrong way. Don't ask me why. It was actually very easy to build in. Also understanding that the panels are very easy to work with. They're toolless entry to the side panels to remove for cleaning. They have dust filters built into the side panels. Your intake is at the bottom, exhaust at the top. I configured it so that the radiator is exhausting, just pushing the hot air out, because I'd rather have pulling air than pushing hot air into here through the radiator. I'd rather have it pushing the air out. So was my reasoning for setting it up as exhaust. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's like an upside down case. And they make some really cool stands, not included with the case. It's something that you have to purchase separately, but they make stands for these cases so you can put them in different orientations, which is really cool. But again, my biggest beef with the case is the fact that the I/O it's a pain in the ass to access. In order to really look down and see what you're doing, you have to remove the two fans at the top, which is a single panel with two thumb screws, to really see what's going on in there to plug things in. And it's kind of a pain. So that design, you know, if they had some sort of extension option for the USB, Ethernet, basic things to the back side of the case, that would be a cool feature. And maybe somebody can make something like that and have a cutout for the case to add on to it if they wanted it. Maybe that would be a cool add-on that would help with that complaint. But outside of that, case is super cool looking. Definitely more of an enthusiast build than a practical day-to-day build case, because there's not enough I/O on the front panel to justify losing your entire back I/O, to having to take it apart to actually get inside there to plug a USB drive in or something, you know. Just, I can't justify it. But there it is. And Max, if you are watching, we've got a post. I'm going to take a picture and send it to him, actually. He'll be pretty stoked to see that, as he's been patiently waiting this whole time for it. So, that's it, guys. That's it for tonight, I guess. We're pretty much wrapping up here. I've got to get Windows installed on this one and get Windows installed on the other one. Do the BIOS updates and all that stuff. So we got our work cut out for the night, just so we're ready for tomorrow, because I want to have both of these ready for tomorrow. So thank you everybody for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. The next stream's probably going to be Thursday. We do have a pretty badass system that we're going to be building on Thursday, as well as coming up probably Friday or Saturday. We'll have another stream following right after that. So lots of builds coming up. starting to get packed in here like sardines again all of a sudden, with all the boxes. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Good night, friends. See y'all on the next stream. Thanks, Giant Idiot. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night, guys.